am Sierra Young, and listen, they call me the mental health homegirl because I make sure that you have an authentic, relatable, and very transparent experience when it comes to mental health. Welcome to Beyond the White Couch. All right, guys, welcome back to Beyond the White Couch. I am super excited to kick off the Own Your Story series with my special guest today, Miss Amber. Welcome, Amber.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
How are you today?
Good. As you can tell, I have my adorable pup, Penny Lane, who might be contributing to this conversation a little bit today. She's wound up.
Nice. Well, if you could, go ahead, introduce yourself to the listeners today.
Of course. So I'm Amber James. I'm an author and journalist, and I recently published my first memoir, I Blew Up My Life, and I've Never Been Happier.
Nice. I absolutely love the title of your book. Talk about a little bit about what made you kind of get to the point where you wanted to put out the book, but more so, where did the title come from?
I mean, the title pretty much as I was blowing up my life. So when I say that, I decided that, after a series of crazy events, including the pandemic, I was going to leave New York City after 15 years, call off my engagement, and quit my six-figure job in real estate.
Wow.
I wanted to walk away from all of it. But it's funny, at the time, I just kept telling people, I'm like, I'm about to blow up my life. I'm going to blow up my life. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. But then it was after I really came out of it about a year later, I was like, I blew up my life and I've never been happier. And I just kept telling it to people. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is the book title. That is going to be it. I'm like, I was done. That's it.
I absolutely love that. And that you found value in blowing up your life and use that for your strength, right? And that's kind of what the Own Your Story series is all about. So when you hear Own Your Story, how does that resonate with you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think for me, owning your story is just being completely honest and vulnerable.
Wow.
I think so many people are looking for shared stories and experiences, especially like I know for myself when I was going through all of this, just about ready to hit the button to be like, okay, I'm doing this. I was looking for stories from other women. I was like, okay, I want that shared experience to know that there's a rainbow at the end of this, that I'm going to be okay choosing myself. So for me, owning my story now is just being so raw and vulnerable to really just be honest and authentic. I think that's really what it is. It's like the journey is not perfect. Like when I say, yes, I've never been happier, but I'm not saying that the journey there was a straight road, that it was a golden, yellow brick road. It was definitely not.
Yeah.
Took some twists and turns, but I think that is what makes it so much more real and relatable.
Yeah. And that's something that I talk about all the time. And that's kind of like some of my personal values and core principles is authenticity, being relatable, being transparent. And as a therapist, I see so many people get caught up in what the superficial world looks like, what people decide to put on social media. And so when you have people like yourself who are willing to step into that space to be vulnerable and open up and say, look, life is not perfect, right? These are the things that have happened. I walked away from what people probably would consider super crazy, but it was like you did what was best for you in that season of life. And so for you, as you're going through all of that, how has that helped you build your resilience, your self-esteem, your confidence, all of the things that come with the benefits of being able to own your story?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just really leaning into yourself and your happiness. And I think for myself, I was held back for so long by being like, I need to check these boxes that society tells me are going to make me happy. And it was really coming to terms with the fact that, oh, wait, none of this actually makes me happy.
Right.
And I think a lot of us as women, we're just told to be grateful all the time and to do, just keep going with the flow. Just be grateful for what you have. You shouldn't expect to, have your own business and do all this stuff. Like it'll come to you when you've done enough or when you've done whatever that goalpost is, which it's actually just this imaginary line that doesn't
Yeah.
actually exist. It just continues to move. The goalpost moves all the time. But for me, owning my story, I just really was hoping to share my story to give courage to other women who might be in a toxic, narcissistic relationship or in a job where they're taking on all these roles, all these extra responsibilities, not getting the raise, not getting the promotions, and just feeling stuck. It's like we need to stop being stuck and saying, if what I have to give isn't being respected here, it's time for me to walk away.
Right.
And that's now what I live my life by. And I constantly quote Abby Wambach in Wolfpack. She has this quote, you can be grateful for what you have and demand what you deserve. And that honestly changed my whole life perspective.
Yeah, that is so good because I talk about duality all the time. Two things can always be true at once, right?
Yes.
You can have a mess of a life, but it could still be very beautiful. You can be heartbroken and still live. You can grieve and still choose to move forward and embrace whatever life has. And I think that so many times that people go through things, and because they don't find the value until maybe later, like, you know, the process of going through, I'm sure when you blew up your life, the process was probably extremely hard. It was probably a lot of tears and a lot of frustration and a lot of what people would consider negative emotion. However, you decided to embrace the process fully so that when you did get on the other side of it, the reward is just as great as the process was. And I think that people don't find the value in the process. And that's usually where the glory is, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, when I was moving out of my New York apartment, and essentially it was the shared apartment that my fiance and I had, I made a video of myself in that moment because I was like, these are raw emotions and this is what I'm feeling. I was bawling my eyes out and I was like, this isn't how my New York story is supposed to end.
Right.
But in the same breath, that moment of just choosing myself and going after what I knew I deserved, catalyst and made room for everything else that has now come into my life. Yeah. I sometimes say I Marie Kondoed my life.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
I was like, does this spark joy anymore? If it doesn't, it's time to get rid of it and make room for things that do. And let me tell you, I now live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am obsessed with the city. I never thought, like, when you're a New Yorker, you're like, this is the greatest city in the world. There's no other place like it. And while, yes, that can be true, Pittsburgh has just been this amazing home for me that is just like, I feel like I'm embraced by the community. And it's just been better too for like my mental health. And now I have, you know, my adorable puppy that I couldn't have in New York. I've found love again with a guy that truly, you know, just reminds me every day how amazing I am. And I'm like, wow, I don't even have to ask for this. He's just doing this. And it's just such a great change of pace when you stop accepting like the crumbs that you think and actually start leaning into being like, I'm not going to put anything here until I get what I actually deserve.
Yeah, I love that because I oftentimes say the bare minimum is not enough. Right?
No, it's not.
So many times people think that just because you're getting by or just because you're getting attention or just because you have a decent job making money, whatever, you know, it's usually the bare minimum. And we as a society come to accept that the bare minimum is just enough. And so I love that you found that in the midst of kind of blowing up your life, you were like, yeah, this is not enough and I do deserve more. And you've, you know, worked to get there, to find that and to embrace that. So that's just a beautiful space. And so when you talk about your mental health, I know that you said that, you know, moving and kind of shifting and blowing up your life actually was good for your mental health. What are some ways that you like practice self-care or navigate some of the mental challenges that came with kind of blowing up your life?
Yeah. I mean, number one for me, therapy. And I think that was such a game changer. I already had a therapist in my life in New York, but thankfully she was like licensed in multiple states and I could take her with me virtually, which made my life so much easier. She taught me a lot about self-love and self-talk and how I was talking to myself. And I think that really helped as well with my journey to just say, you are worth it. And to keep listening to that and to learn those new thought patterns really helped me. So I had that on my side, which I think is so important for everybody. And I like now I live like right along the waterfront. So like I take walks along the water and we have these beautiful green trails and like, oh, it is just incredible. And I have to say, even just 30 minutes in the morning, I walk there like 6, 7 in the morning, the sun's coming up. It is like my time to just be in my headspace. And it makes me feel so amazing.
Yeah.
And I know in New York City, it's like there's just grind and noise and having to get from point A to point B. And now it's like I feel like I can just like kind of more zen a little bit. I do have a remote job now too, which is another great thing that came out of all of this. So now I can like really prioritize, okay, how am I spending my mornings? And now I'm not spending 90 minutes commuting. I'm actually able to spend that 90 minutes, whether it's walking my dog, going to the dog park, taking that little walk, or going to the gym. And that just really changes the whole trajectory of my day. And it's something that's so important to me.
Yeah, I love that, because one of the things that you said, I think that is so is important, is that you talked about how you start your day. A lot of times people don't understand the impact of what your morning routine is. And I'll be transparent, I haven't gotten it down packed either, right? Because I have kids and we have school and lunches and all of that. And so it gets kind of chaotic, right? However, I found that when I do, if I wake up even just an hour earlier or 30 minutes, just to have space to kind of just breathe and decompress for myself, it changes the trajectory of the morning for everybody, not just me, but everybody in my house, right? And so I love that you start your day on a positive note and with something that kind of creates a calming place for yourself, so that if your day does get hectic or you have to be busy or whatever may come up, you have more capacity. And that's something that people don't build in. They don't build space for capacity, right? And so we tend to navigate a lot of craziness and try to create balance, but have no capacity for it. And so I think that's important. And I love the things that you do for self-care. As it relates to taking care of your mental health and all that you're doing. And so let's circle back, because you did say something about kind of like what society thought, or, you know, put the pressures of what society you should be doing or where you should be going. How have you gone against that, about what society norms said that you should be doing?
Yeah, I think growing up, I was always kind of like the good girl, was trying to be perfect, wanted to get into the right school, move to New York, have this successful career. And I'm like, I'm going to be like a CEO, boss babe, you know. But then I started to realize, like, wait a minute, I have all these dreams for myself. I want to start a business. I want to have a little more financial freedom, personal freedom. And I was not going to get that through what society said. You know, living in New York, I was far from my family. I, you know, was grinding all the time. And while, yes, a 6-figure job sounds great in New York City, it does not go far. I will be honest with you. But even that, for me, the 6 figures wasn't even worth it anymore, because it was taking away from my mental health and really putting me in this mind frame where I didn't have space for freedom or fun. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I need to learn how to define happiness for me. And for some people, it is the career. It is like all of that stuff, which is awesome. But I knew for me, that was not true. Right. And I needed to just reassess myself and kind of lean into what was actually going to make me happy. And I've found that, you know, now I have the notes to self shop, and it has blown up in a way that I could have never imagined, and I would have never had time for had I still been living in New York City.
Yeah, you created the capacity, you created
space
for yourself and for you to grow in your life, and that in itself is beautiful. But I think the other part of it is that understanding that what everybody happiness and joy and what other people define it as success, it's not a linear thing, right? I think that a lot of
Exactly.
time you talked about earlier about we grow up and we think that life is supposed to go, okay, we're gonna be kids, then we're gonna be teenagers, we're gonna graduate high school, we're gonna go to college, we're gonna meet the love of our lives and get married and live happily ever after. And it's like, well, actually, no, that is not the reality. That is not how it goes. And I think that a lot of times we have a hard time shifting our perspective of what success or what your journey is, and understanding that your journey is personal. So while your journey may not look like my journey, and where I am on my path may not be where you are on your path, that doesn't mean that you're better off than I am, or that your way is better than my way. And I think that as a society, we have to do a much better job of supporting the decisions that people make that is conducive to whatever they want for their life and what brings happiness for them. Because when you look up the definition of happiness, it doesn't have a clear definition of what may resonate with you or what may resonate with me. And I think that's the beautiful part of life in general. But yeah, I absolutely love that. So when you created Notes to Self, tell us a little bit about that. How did it come about, just in that whole process after you decided to kind of blow your life up?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, so Notes to Self started before I blew up my life. It was in the
Okay.
process of it. Once COVID hit, I started writing little notes to myself on little colorful Post-its, and I started posting them around my apartment because I was like, I need something to give me motivation and happiness right now in this wild, crazy time. So it would be anything from, you know, hello gorgeous, to you're so brave, like you've got this, like give yourself grace. All of these little notes just started adding up, and before long I was like, why am I not sharing these with other people? So the next thing I knew, I started an Instagram account during COVID, decided to like really package them beautifully in these colorful posts, and before I knew it, the account grew like overnight. And I was like, wait, what? It was like, I thought I was building it for, 7 people and my mom. And the next thing I knew, it was like 25,000 people were following me from all over the world, telling me how much these notes were inspiring them every day and getting them out of bed and really encouraging them to just take on life head on.
Yeah.
And that was when I realized I think I have something more here that I need to give. And so I decided to create the Notes to Self shop, which is then blown into, I have guided journals, I have notebooks that feature the different notes to self. I obviously have my book that just came out. I create like this awesome wall art with all the different kind of top sayings of different posts. So there's a lot going on, and it's just been an awesome journey to see something to go from like nothing to there's people all over the world buying my stuff now and reaching out to me to tell me how much it means to them. And that honestly means more to me than anything else, is seeing the effect it has on other people.
Right. How awesome is it that you were utilizing something that you were trying to inspire your own self with and decided to kind of just like go for it. And then it kind of went beyond whatever you could imagine. And again, kind of going back to what Own Your Story means, that's that, right? Even when you're in a place where life is going crazy and you're not sure what direction you're going in, you found something that worked for you, and then it works for other people too. And building that community of people who relate and can show up authentically and can, be themselves in the space that you hold for them, I think is such a beautiful thing. And so it's one thing for you to own your story and then you use it for yourself. But when you take that and you own it so much that you can share it with the world and you can be transparent and you find people to connect with you, that's to me is like one of the best feelings, because you really put yourself in what I call a position of power. So what kind of power, just not even just like from financially, but like even from a mental capacity, what kind of power do you feel like you've obtained since owning your story?
Oh, wow. I think my power is just spreading positivity with the world and kindness. And that's really was the whole goal of Notes to Self in the first place, and why I started the Instagram. I'm like, this is just free content. I'm just putting it out there.
Right.
But knowing that I can help other people makes this journey even more worth it.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, you can get a couple bad, 1-2 star reviews, but that's not who I'm creating this content for. I'm creating it for the women who are going through things, that are struggling, that are looking for that little bit piece of that rainbow at the end of this crazy storm that they might be going through. And to know that I can help them, even just for a few hours or just 30 seconds in their day as they're scrolling Instagram, that means more to me than any financial benefit at all. Like, that's really my end goal, is just to help other women.
I love that. I love that. If you could share one piece of advice for someone who has yet to own their story, what would that be?
I would tell them to lean in, embrace the mess. All of us have messy lives. It's okay. And just to do what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, the biggest regret is not taking that chance on yourself.
Mm,
And you are so worth it.
yeah,
That's what I would want to tell them.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You are worth it. So I am so grateful that you took the time to come on Beyond the White Couch today. Before I let you go and kick off the rest of your day, let everybody know how they can reach out to you, find you on social media, buy your book, all of that. We do have something special coming up. We'll be doing a giveaway. You'll have to follow both of us for more details on that. But if you'll share how people can connect with you, that'd be great.
Yeah, you can connect with me on Instagram at Notes to Self Shop. You can also buy any of the Notes to Self merchandise at notes2selfshop.com. My book is also available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, pretty much anywhere on the online retailer. So I blew up my life and I've never been happier. So I can't wait for all of you to read it, experience it, and let me know what you think.
Yeah, and all of this information will be down below in the show notes. So I'm so excited. Amber, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story, own your story, and embrace the journey that you've had. This was a great way to kind of kick off the Own Your Story series, and I'm super excited for all that you have to come. And again, just thank you. And I'm so proud of you for choosing to own your story.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. This has been amazing. Also, everything that you're doing is so inspiring, and I can't say enough great things. So I am just so excited and thrilled to have been on your show today.
Yes, thanks so much. And you guys tune in for the next guest. I'm excited about what's coming up. But until next time, make sure you live, learn, heal, and grow.